From the moment we're born, most of us learn that we need to do something and we need to do it right away in order to not lose our grip on reality. And so the way that takes shape is that when we're born, awareness is wide open and forever free. It doesn't really have a sense of being born, let alone conceived. And there's no sense of being somebody when an infant is born. An infant is just spontaneous, wide open awareness with no selective mechanisms for choosing any point of view and honing in on that point of view. So another way to describe that would be to say that points of view include thoughts, emotions, sensations, and other experiences. We learn from other people from the moment we're born that we are identified by our thoughts, emotions, sensations, and other experience. And all the while, the wide open awareness that we're born as never changes. So the entire identity that is created, that we are taught that we are, is simply an appearance within wide open awareness. It's never made into an individual identity or thing. It always remains wide open awareness. And so by the process of our early caregivers saying, "Hello, Candice," and finally at some point we get that that must have something to do with us. It's very interesting. I watch this process in my own children and grandchildren, the process of self-identification, the identification with an individual identity. And while there's nothing wrong with that and everything is beautiful exactly as it is, if we don't really know the actual fundamental nature of our identity, then we're kind of chasing our tail throughout life. Now, here we are, and we have all these self-described identifications, our thoughts, emotions, sensations, and experiences, including the experience of being whoever we are. And what to do with that, what to do about it? Well, first of all, we need to understand it completely. We need to understand what it is. If we only understand that we are an identity that is comprised of thoughts, emotions, sensations, and other experiences, then we never understand that those have a fundamental nature. So we only know one of their aspects. We know their appearance. We know their dictionary definition, or we know how they're defined by a variety of fields of human inquiry. When we learn about ourselves in such a way, then really most of us only learn to indulge our thoughts, emotions, sensations, and experiences, or avoid them. That's what we learn. And we may learn a smattering of replacing negative states with positive states. But for most of us, we never even learn that. We never even learn that it is possible to cultivate positive states rather than negative states, that it's possible to cultivate a sense of happiness. So we never even get to that level of trying to replace our negative states and cultivate positive states alone. But even the cultivation of positive states, the replacing of negative states with positive states, is still very limiting and very restricting in terms of who we are as human beings. You might say that to avoid or deny our points of view, or to replace our points of view, destines us to a devitalized existence. So in one way or another, we're neutralizing our fundamental nature and our knowledge of that by indulging all our thoughts, emotions, sensations, and experiences, thinking that they're going to lead somewhere to some kind of well-being, or by avoiding the negative ones, or maybe we even avoid some of the positive ones, or by replacing points of view with other points of view. We're doomed to a devitalized existence where we're never truly able to love, because we're always looking for the incarnation of love in something. We're looking for the incarnation of love in some kind of point of view, and we'll never find it there. The only place that we'll ever find well-being, love, happiness, peace of mind, everything that we're looking for, is in awareness. Everyone is aware. There isn't anyone anywhere who can say, I am not aware. And even if someone said, I am not aware, they would be admitting their awareness by virtue of having said, I am not aware. So you see, whether we say we're aware or we're not aware, whether we recognize awareness or we don't recognize awareness, anything that we say is the self-sound of awareness. Anything that appears is the self-appearance of awareness. And so this is what is fundamental. We need to know that everything that appears has these two aspects. It has this wondrous appearance of whatever it is, vivid, naturally perfect in its own right. And so you see, no matter what appears, it isn't independent in its own right. It's always naturally perfect in its own right, never independent in its own right, even though it appears to be. So to continually seek for well-being, love, happiness, peace of mind, contentment, whatever it is that we feel driven to possess, to continue to look for that in something that isn't anything is futile. It's completely futile. It's like saying, oh, I want love, I'm going to grab it out of the air. Or, oh, I want peace of mind, I'm going to grab it out of the air. All of these non-independent appearances don't have any kind of independent vitality or potency that can deliver the goods. And so you see, all that can deliver the goods in terms of our well-being is awareness. That's all that can deliver the goods. It delivers the all good. So you see, if we get to know ourselves as awareness by the power of short moments of awareness repeated many times until it becomes automatic, then we're able to have a balanced view of everything. As all of these thoughts, emotions, sensations, and other experiences appear, we don't have to indulge them, nor do we have to sanitize them in any way. Whatever they are, they are. When we don't sanitize our thoughts, emotions, sensations, and other experiences as they appear, we come out of being numb. We come out of being numb to the true nature of our human existence. We're no longer numb. And we're so accustomed to being numb that we don't even know we're numb. We don't even know we're devitalized. And so as we start to come out of that numbness, everything can seem very real. Very, very real. And there may even be a sense of nostalgia for what we were experiencing before. The numbness is deadening. And so it's a way of not really feeling, not really understanding, not really being expressive of what we are. It's a way of never entering into full love heart relating with anyone or anything. And so, maybe we gradually open up, and then we might retreat back a little bit and say, oh, this is a little too scary for me. I think I'll return to my numbness for a while and just kind of wallow around in all my thoughts and emotions, sensations, and other experiences. I'd rather hold on to my conceptual identity of everything that has gotten me to this point, even though it's never given me well-being. And so, we might hop from one foot to another foot for a while. And all the while, we might, when we start to gain confidence and awareness, we think, oh, this is great. Maybe I won't have to hop from one foot to another after a while. Maybe soon both of my feet will be off the ground. However, it isn't that way at all. We skip the road of happy destiny. And so as we skip along, our feet are always on the ground. And our skipping and playfulness increases, and we're able to just be as we are, no matter what that entails.